I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the New Forest. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at a place called Lower Pennington, which is just to the south of Lymington in Hampshire, just off the A337. And today we're going to be doing a roughly 3-mile circular route around Pennington Marshes, along the sea wall and to Oxey Marsh and back. Along the way, as long as some superb views of the Solent and the Isle of Wight, hopefully we'll be coming across some evidence of salterns, and I'll tell you a bit about that later on. It's a beautiful autumnal morning, the sun's out, perfect for walking. He's already seen a squirrel. Let's go. Wow, it really is quite a glorious morning. Beautiful. So it's always, I think we're going to be lucky with the weather today. It's mid-September. Anyway, I parked the car at the Chequers Pub and I'm making my way south along a little road. I think it's called Lower Woodside. I'm basically going to make our way to the shore. Well, I've now made my way off that little road and walking along a lovely little shady footpath, still heading south. And I just come across this quite gorgeous little lake on my right hand side. It's in private, on private land, so I can't get any nearer. I think this is part of the grounds of Pennington House. I saw glimpses of that as I was walking by. That's a Georgian building that was originally a farmhouse connected with the salt industry. And there are records there of a salt auction taking place there as early as 1764. It's got a 7-acre garden that was created in 1905, which includes an Italian sunken garden. I think it's open to the public on set days of the year as part of the National Garden Scheme, but as I say, you only get glimpses of it on this path, but oh, that is quite exquisite. The Canadian geese out there paddling away as well. We've now got our first glimpse of the Pennington Marshes, and the whole area around here is part of the Lymington Keyhaven Nature Reserve, which is run by the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust on behalf of Hampshire County Council. I think they lease the land off the Crown, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a huge area, something like 1,200 acres I believe. But if I just pan round, I'm going to have to watch the sun today, but that gives you an idea. That's looking over towards the east, and then I'll pan round and we're going to be heading over in that direction. And just see the Isle of Wight in the background. We'll see that a little bit clearer later on, and the sea is just on the other side of that bank in the far distance. Go on then. I'll have to have your usual Logan pit stop for blackberries, and they're quite big ones here as well, so you've got a nice selection to choose from. We can't stay here all day. Haha, a map. This is useful. Hopefully you can see this and the sun's not too glary, but we've come down this little road here, and then along a little path. That's a little lake that we saw along here, so that's where I am at the moment. So we're now going to head along this path here to the sea, and then literally follow the path all the way around the coast. And in fact we're then going to head back through there and then back up to the pub. Incidentally, a few months ago I did a walk on this side, the Keyhaven side, so if you're feeling energetic, look that one up and you can combine the two together. But just before we head out towards the sea itself, just along here to the right, now I'm not sure if I'm going to actually see anything as such, but possibly there's some banks there. This is the site. If you look at an old map in the 1800s, there was a rifle range here, about 800 yards or so. It's long gone on later maps, and I'm wondering if it's one of those Victorian volunteer rifle ranges that you see dotted around the forest. But anyway, we are now going to head in that direction along that long path. Well, just before we say hello to the sea, I'll tell you a little bit about the salt industry. It was very important around here many years ago. In fact, all over the place there were loads of these salterns, which were basically small enclosures where they would allow the seawater in. It would then evaporate, and then the resulting brine would be boiled away to produce salt. And indeed, it was the biggest production area of salt in the UK at one time. I think salt production was first mentioned here in 1132. Well, eventually the coming of the railways had a big effect on the industry. It became uneconomic to make salt this way. It was easier to extract salt from salt mines in Cheshire. Also, the taxes on both salt and coal that was used to fire the boilers to boil the brine were very high. Industry eventually stopped in around about 1865, and the salterns themselves, they've been allowed to go back into nature, as it were. Now they're just lagoons enjoyed by wildlife, particularly birds. Well, we've finally made our way to the shore, and it's looking really pretty today with the blue water in the glorious sunshine. And this is looking to my west, and in the very far distance, obviously that's the Isle of Wight, looking a little bit hazy, and right on the western side of it. And then just in front is Hurst Castle and the lighthouse, which obviously is this side of the Solent. And I have actually done a walk there where I explored the castle, part of the Keyhaven walk, so if you're interested, do check that out. But it really is lovely. As I say, there's a little breeze which is just spot on, and there's this little jetty here. There's a pipeline that goes alongside it. Whether the jetty had anything to do with the salt industry, I'm not sure. And then just panning around, you can see some wooden posts sticking up, and I imagine that probably is the remains of an old jetty. So the salt industry would have required access to the sea for exporting salt, because a lot of it went to, well, places like Norway and United States of America. And of course also they needed to import coal to fire up the boilers. Now, as if we need a reminder, we still are in the New Forest. What have we got here? 4 ponies taking it easy. Now, this little area here is called Oxey Marsh, and if you look at a map of 1898, it actually shows a golf course, and it's still showed on a 1947 map. I think it was called the Pennington House golf course. I think you'd lose a few balls in there now. Well, we're having a lot of fun on the shore here. So what we're going to do now is start heading eastwards and follow the path that goes around the shoreline. It's actually on part of the Solent Way, which is that long distance path that goes from Milford to Emsworth. Well, as we're heading east, just a couple of things to point out to you looking out to sea, although that's the Isle of Wight ferry going across from Lymington. But I'll see if I can get a closer up picture. There's a structure out there in the middle, and that's the starting platform for sailing races, I believe part of the Royal Lymington Yacht Club. Now just to the right of that platform, just about make out, there's a marker sticking up, and that's called the Jack in the Basket. And it's basically a marker for the navigable channel of the Lymington River estuary. And before buoys existed, these markers were often put up warning of the edge of sandbanks and the like. Now this one's got a wooden box or basket on top of a pole. A couple of theories as to where it gets its name from. It might have been got its name from the fact that it saved time for Lymington fishermen. Their wives would often row out there in punts and tie food and drink in a basket on the pole, and the drink was carried in things called blackjacks, which is a sort of leather flask, and leather soaked in hot water and dried is known as jack leather. The other theory is that they rowed out and put guilty smugglers and left them in a cage on top of the pole in the 18th century. So you can choose which theory you like the best. We're now headed as far east as we're going to go along the shoreline, and now going to change direction back north on the homeward bound leg. Oh, it is so beautiful here. In fact, if I just, on one side you've got this glorious blue of the Solent and the Isle of Wight obviously as a backdrop, and then panning round on the northern side you've got this nature reserve. I think it's a white heron rather than an egret standing there. It's so far away I can't quite make out the colour of its beak. It really is a quite stunning bit of scenery. And this here is Moses Dock, which is the only remaining navigable dock here. As I mentioned before, coal would have been brought in by barge for the boiling houses and salt taken away for export. Anyway, we're going to go to the east rather than west, so that's Lymington over there where we're not going, but that's where we're heading back to the pub. It is fascinating as you walk along a path that goes by this channel here. There is an information board back at the Moses Dock which is quite informative. I'll put some shots up on screen. If you want to read more you can always freeze the screen. And then on the left hand side of this path here there's another drainage or some sort of channel to deal with the salt industry, with some concrete structures in the side there as well. Gosh, look at these. I believe these are the last two remaining original salt boiling houses from the 18th century. There were of course dozens here at the peak of the industry, but not many straight lines on that roof now, are there? It's great that they're still here though. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We thought we'd do the last bit right at the end of the jetty. It's too high for me to get up, so I'm going to do it from here. Logan's been brave, although it is a long way down. We hope you enjoyed our walk today. If you did, please give us a thumbs up or like, and do make a comment. And if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. That way hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Oh, you're right up there. I'm going to get you down now.